You're listening to the Third Down Squad podcast, the best international news podcast for the National Football League. We're your hosts, Derek, Josh, and Toby. Let's get you ready for new set downs on Sunday.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Third Down Squad podcast. We have officially made it, guys. I don't know if you know this, but starting this Thursday, August 1st, it's the first football game of the year. It's going to be the Broncos and the Falcons in the Hall of Fame game. We will now have football every week up until the Super Bowl in February. How excited are you guys right now?
Oh, absolutely.
Finally excited.
Yeah, I'm completely excited about it. It's been way too long since we last had football. And we had the AFL this year, so it's not been as long as the last couple of years.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I personally have not been more excited for a season in a long time. This is going to be fun.
Yep.
All right.
Personally,
go ahead.
I got one word for us. One word for us we can all get behind. Content.
Yes. Yes, we're looking to get our organized content again, which we'll definitely continue to do. All right, So first topic that we're going to be talking about is a big one out of the Colts today, and that is with Andrew Luck being held out. So apparently Andrew Luck has been dealing with a calf strain ever since May, and obviously it's been lingering around. The Colts coaching staff has definitely been trying to be cautious about it, and now it's being reported he won't play in the first preseason game against Buffalo, may not play for a couple of games in the preseason. We don't quite know how it is. We just know that it's bad enough that the Colts are definitely going to try to keep him on a down low pace. Toby, we're going to start with you on this one. Is this a big deal that the Colts are being this conservative in keeping Andrew Luck out?
Oh, I don't really think so. We've seen a couple of teams over the last years or so that have kept their number one quarterback out of playing in the preseason. Maybe one quarter in the third week of preseason. That's all a couple of starters in the league get. If I'm thinking about a Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers, or Drew Brees, that's basically all they do every year without injuries there. So I'm not concerned about Andrew Luck. And to be honest, I like to see Jacoby Brissett get a couple of snaps in a game with the first team to kind of keep him in pace with the first team offense in case anything ever happens to Andrew Luck. Of course, we hope it doesn't happen anything too serious to him during the course of the season. But I mean, it's always good to have experience with the starters as a backup quarterback. So I think it's more of an advantage for the Colts.
Right. Josh, what do you think?
Well, if the tale of Kevin Durant is anything, I'm glad they're holding him out, because this could go from a freaking calf injury to an Achilles tear, and I don't want that for Andrew Luck, because he's been on enough scrutiny from injuries as it is and in a lot of pain. So I'm with Toby on this one. Seeing Jacoby Brissett kind of get, a little bit more screen or like play time, keep him, going, because more than likely he probably won't be taking a snap till like the very last few weeks of the NFL season. So it's better to keep him going, get him to gel with the rookies and like the starters in case something were to happen. So It's all right with him holding out. I'd better be safe than sorry.
Yeah, I don't know why people are starting to like over exaggerate on this. I mean, it's still 37 days until the regular season, and if anybody has been following along with it, calf strains, a grade 3 calf strain, which I believe is what this is, normally takes about 3 months to heal. And I think like Josh said, Kevin Durant, the whole thing with Kevin Durant, don't bring back your guy too quick. You want to let him recover. It's not an ACL thing. People keep associating that what Kevin Durant had is the same thing that Luck has. No, Andrew Luck's ACL is fine. There's nothing wrong with it. It's just that, when you have a calf strain, it's difficult to do a lot of maneuverability on your legs for a long time. And it's not to say that Andrew Luck's not been throwing the football. He's been throwing the football, just not in drills and doing all this other stuff. And there's been a couple days where he's practiced in training camp. I mean, it's not like he's sat out the entire time and he hasn't been throwing with these receivers. He hasn't been throwing the football at all. It's not a big deal. I really don't think it is. I mean, I would much rather the Colts take their time with making sure Andrew Luck is 100% for when obviously he's ready to go. And Andrew Luck even said during this that he tried to like make an adjustment during training camp that, didn't really fit with the calf strain. And it's just, that's just sort of the thing that he tried to do a little too much again. And that's the thing. The Colts have to do much better of keeping him under control, making sure they follow what they need to do in order to be able to make sure that calf strain's fine, because we definitely need him for week 1. But I agree with you guys that, getting Jacoby Brissett all these looks definitely is a good thing for a backup just in case something happens. I think this might be the most involved Jacoby Brissett has been in the game planning for the Colts in a long time. So it definitely is nice. All right, so now we move on to our second one, and that is Ezekiel Elliott's holding out. So last week we mentioned how Zeke Elliott might potentially hold out. Well, it's starting to look as if we were correct that Zeke Elliott is holding out. He has not reported to training camp, and he's been working out in Mexico, from what I've been told. And right now, the jury is out, and everyone's asking, what should Zeke get paid? Should he get paid? Should they trade him? Should they let him go? What should happen? So Josh will ask you the question, what should the Cowboys do here?
I'd say try to convince him to wait one more year, because if I'm not mistaken, he's got 2 years on this contract while Dak and Cooper have 1. But this looks really bad on him because he sees Dak and Amari getting paid, but he wants to get paid, which, I don't have a problem with players wanting to get paid. But do you have to do it right now? I mean, come on. Look at the situation here. You need Dak and you need Amari Cooper. I mean, granted, you are the best running back possibly in the league right now, arguably. So you should get paid, but why can't you wait till next year? Why do you have to paint the Cowboys into a corner right now? After all they did with you, granted, with your allegation history, it's been spotty here and there with what happened and stuff, but they stuck by you. And now you're going to ask for money when you don't really need it right now. You can wait till next year. I just think that the Cowboys should convince him to wait one more year to get paid and then talk about it next year when Dak and Cooper are all set. So that's what I think.
Toby, what you got?
Yeah, I mean, the best case for the Cowboys would be if they could convince Zeke to keep playing this year and then have to deal with him on a new contract next year. But I believe with Josh, you perfectly said it. He's seeing Cooper and Dak getting paid all that money. So, of course, he wants to get paid right now as well. And I completely understand him. He basically is the face of the team, and he makes or breaks this offense. So, worst case for the Cowboys is letting him go anywhere else than their organization. But I believe the best case scenario right now for both sides is to just get a deal done right now and get Zeke back on the field, because they don't really have a backup to Zeke right now. So if he's holding out to start the regular season, they have 2 new rookies on their roster with Tony Pollard out of Memphis, who they drafted in the 4th round this year, and Mike Weber from Ohio State, who they drafted in round 7 this year. So not really the top guys, and I think it's going to be tough for them if Zeke is not playing to start the regular season to be competitive in the games on offense, because like I said, Zeke is the guy that makes or breaks their offense right now, because when you look at the games last year, when Zeke misses a game, Dak Prescott is not that great a quarterback anymore because he can't rely on the run game anymore. So that's, I believe, the Cowboys really have to get that deal done or at least get something going with Zeke before the start of the regular season.
Well, and just today, the Dallas Cowboys even just signed Alfred Morris again, who everyone knows Alfred Morris has been pretty much the backup running back for the Cowboys on and off over the last 5 seasons, even before Ezekiel Elliott came on board. I don't understand what the Cowboys are doing. Look, I understand that in this NFL system, that the running back is not the most important position. And you could make the argument it's the least valuable position in the NFL when it comes to the offensive side of the ball. You could potentially make that argument. But when you got a guy who's the number one guy at his position, he's the biggest workload of anybody on your team. He gives you a dimension that allows you to run your offensive system. Because let's admit it here. I have said it before too. I think we all can agree Dak Prescott's not a top 10 quarterback. He's probably not even a top 15 quarterback by some metrics. You can debate that any way you want. But he's not the elite of elite quarterbacks out there. So when you don't have an elite quarterback and you don't have a wide receiver core other than your one receiver, you have Amari Cooper, but that's pretty much all you have at the moment. I mean, you can't turn one-dimensional. And that's been the problem, is that the Cowboys are going to become so one-dimensional if they don't get Zeke back in there that they'll just abandon the run game. Nobody will respect the Cowboys' run game if Zeke is gone, because Zeke is so much better than anyone else they could put back there. And then all of a sudden, Amari Cooper starts to get flustered, and Dak Prescott gets sacked more because they're bringing more pressure because they're not afraid of Ezekiel Elliott running the ball anymore. Look, I'm a big fan of, if you're the best guy at your position, you deserve to get paid. And he has been the best guy. He has carried the workload. He has made the Dallas Cowboys over the last few years. The system has run through him. And in regards to Jerry Jones's comments the other day on how you don't need a running back to win a Super Bowl, he does realize the last few times he's gone to the Super Bowl, his best player was Emmitt Smith, was the running back. Some could argue is the best running back of all time. I mean, that was the guy that brought you your championships. That was the main guy for you. So you sound so hypocritical when he says this. And Chase was talking to us earlier, Josh, about how much money they have and how, they have $70 million in cap space and stuff. I think we all agreed that if you're going to give Dak a $20 million deal, let's say he doesn't give him 30, he gives him 20 million a year. You go 5 years, $100 million. That gives you enough for Amari Cooper. You can give him $15 million a year for a couple years. And then Zeke, you could afford to give him the 4-year, $80 million deal that he wants. I assume that's what he wants. I mean, I think that would put him as the highest paid running back in the NFL if he did that, because Le'Veon Bell's contract was at $55 million and Todd's was at $60 million. So, I mean, I don't see the problem with the cap space. I don't see a problem with the numbers. If we're just talking realistically here, if Jerry Jones sat these guys down and said, look, I gotta give room for each of you. I can't overspend on one guy and then lose both of you. I can't. And they could potentially lose Amari Cooper in all this if they indeed sign Dak to a $35 million deal. They won't have the cap space to keep all three of them. They won't. And I mean, again, I'm in total fairness to Zeke here. I'm hoping Zeke gets his paid because he's been the best running back in the NFL since he's gotten in it, and there's no denying it. So Jerry Jones, just pay the man his money. Pay the man a little bit.
Keep in mind, if he sits out the season, and let's say Mike Weber is the next James Conner, Zeke will not be needed anymore, because some may also argue that the offensive line made Zeke. So,
yeah, but his style of play translates differently to how other running backs in the NFL play now. Zeke can run behind any kind of offensive line because he doesn't play east and west. He plays north and south. That is ultimately what drives the Dallas Cowboys is because that has made Dak so much better because he doesn't lose yardage. Zeke doesn't lose yardage. He gains yards. And that's the biggest help.
Unless he goes up against Darius Leonard.
Yeah, exactly. We saw how the Colts game ended. Yeah, the Dallas Cowboys are going to be ranked ahead of the Colts in the power rankings, but you forget 23-0. 23-0. It was exemplified, but whatever. We're gonna skip past that for another day. All right, we'll go on to our next one, and that is the curse of Cincinnati, and it is another injury for AJ Green. The curse of Cincinnati is, in fact, alive and well, and it has struck again. I'm going to just say this again. For as much as we trounce the Bengals, we trounce them so much on this podcast, and for sometimes good reason. They've made a lot of dumb decisions. But I honestly cannot say this enough that I feel so terrible for this organization and for the players and for the fans because these guys just can't seem to get away from this injury. Now, AJ Green's injury, it's a severely sprained ankle. It's not something that's going to keep him out the whole season. It won't really keep him out for a whole lot longer than they're saying 6 to 8 weeks. They don't know for an absolute fact what timetable it is, but we're guessing 6 to 8 weeks because that's what the trainers have told them. So that would make him miss 2, maybe 3 games of the season. Toby, we're going to start with you on this. I mean, with this AJ Green history of injury, and we've seen just how many other injuries the Bengals have suffered so far this offseason. I mean, what else can the Bengals do at this point? I don't know what else we can really say other than I wonder just how many games they can actually win if these guys just keep getting injured like this.
Yeah, I mean, we've done our predictions for the Cincinnati Bengals already, and we've said it then, and we talked about the signing of Tyler Boyd last week, and we touched on the injury history of AJ Green. And, I mean, we might have jinxed it a little bit last week, but just...
I'm sorry.
Yeah. Just a couple of days
I
after
hate
that.
to laugh because it's just like I like AJ Green. I think he's a great receiver. He's one of the
great player.
Top 10 wide receivers in the league. He just can't stay healthy for the life of him. And this also brings up another thing, Toby. I'm sure you've seen how they said the field itself was subpar. The conditions on the field were not very good. Some were questioning why they chose to, or why they were put there to practice. I mean, is there some kind of like, is somebody going to possibly get in trouble for, the field conditions? I mean, is the NFL going to have something to say about it? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't think anybody's going to say. I mean, it's definitely going to be questioned by the organization, but I mean, if the field is in that bad a condition, somebody in the coaching department has to make a executive decision to just say, okay, we're not going to practice today, or go to another facility and practice there. So I don't really think there's going to be much of an investigation by the NFL there. There might be something inside the Bengals organization, but I feel like if they are practicing, they probably had enough time to look at the field and evaluate it and say, okay, it's good enough to practice. And I mean, it's not like a whole bunch of players got injured. It's AJ Green, and he's a wide receiver, and a sprained ankle for a wide receiver, it's not that uncommon. Yeah. So, okay, yeah, it's bad for the Bengals. It's bad for AJ Green, obviously, but I don't think it's too big of a deal for them right now.
Josh, you got anything to add to that one?
Well, I just Googled Bengal tiger facts, so I thought I'd let you know this one right now. Did you know that the lifespan of a captive Bengal tiger is 8 to 10 years? Just like the Bengals players. They're captive in there. Not to mention that some of them are, in fact, head and body, 5 to 6 feet tall, and some get higher than that. Okay. The weight of the Bengal tiger, 240 to 500 pounds. The average weight of the offensive lineman all the way to the wide receivers.
Okay.
And the tight end. This is their current standing right now. They are endangered. Just like the Cincinnati Bengals are every year when they think that they're on top of it.
Yeah, that's
You
true.
kidding me? No. The Bengals are just, I can't even, there's not even a word in the dictionary that would come close to describing the Cincinnati Bengals and injuries. Some might
that's
say, there's correlation. Well, you can't have correlation without causation. So what's causing these dang injuries? Like you said, Toby, it could be the field. It could be, or, it just could be that AJ Green is just bad at taking angles. Maybe he's more of a straight line wide receiver. It's just, you had Tyler Eifert, the up and coming Gronkowski style tight end. What happens to him? He gets hit with the injury bug. Andy Dalton, up and coming quarterback who, in my opinion, is getting lower and lower every year that they say is going to be Andy Dalton's year.
Yeah.
These right here, they stop him. They're important to the ball. So, gosh. Come on, Cincinnati. Haven't you suffered enough through the Marvin Lewis era?
I know, right? I was wondering when that would get brought up again. They're trying to go past it. Stop bringing them nightmares. Stop it.
This is why you're going to go to the bakery in Cleveland, because that's where everything.
I like what you did there. I like what you did there. I appreciate that. Yeah. Chase will like that one if he actually watches these. Hi, Chase. Yeah, it sucks because it's like I want to say that like there has to be some reason behind it, right? Like Josh said, how there has to be some kind of causation here, right? What's going on here? Well, I can't blame the scouting department. It's not like they're doing a bad job of drafting. You can't predict somebody's going to have an injury history unless those injuries have been there before. And I don't think AJ Green's ever had an injury history in college, and Jonah Williams has never had that. Ross hasn't had that. I mean, Andy Dalton certainly didn't have it throughout the first couple years of his career. I mean, these guys all of a sudden it just seems to happen so much, and I feel bad because I do have a couple of Bengals fans in my family and a couple of friends back from where I came from. So they definitely are really sad that, this continues to happen to them. I think that, Josh, we talk a lot about our team having the injury bug. Over the last couple of years, the Colts have had that problem. But I think the only team that has it worse than us is the Bengals. And it absolutely sucks.
Hey, Derek,
yeah.
At the end of the segment, pull up the Saving Private Dalton picture.
Yes, I will actually show that right now. Or no, I'll do it after once we get into our AFC East, just so I can find time to find it in my gallery. I'll pull it up.
It's worth it. So I'll explain it.
We're gonna just do some improvising here. Hold on, we're just gonna do some improvise.
And for the people that listen to this on Spotify, go check out our Twitter. It's gonna be up there after we release the podcast.
Oh yeah.
So you can see what's going on here. Or just watch the YouTube video. It's on there as well.
Yeah. Tell them, Josh.
So we have a friend named Michael, and his favorite movie of all time is Saving Private Ryan. And this guy is dedicated to that movie. It's a great movie. You should go check it out. Anyway, we decided to poke some fun at him while he was working an event for SMA. This is our sophomore year, and I see it, and I look over to Derek, and I said, because we're watching Thursday Night Football, and I think it was, the Bengals and the Ravens?
Yeah, it was the Bengals and the Ravens, I think, yeah.
Yeah, and I get the idea of, let's mess with Michael. And it's a common theme throughout all of college that we kind of, do, these little passive things that kind of get him to go, what? And then to make him go, oh, okay. So what we did was we cut out a picture of Adam Pac-Man Jones, Andy Dalton, Terrell Suggs, which we know he's not a Bengal, but all Steelers fans hate Terrell Suggs for some reason. He's a great linebacker. And who else was it?
I think it was there was Pac-Man, there was Perfect, there was Suggs.
Yeah, Perfect. It was perfect.
Gosh, where did I? Hold on, I I gotta go into our messages and see it because I sent it to you guys. I can't find it in my gallery for some reason, but I will find it here. So here it is.
Keep going. Here it is.
We for Spotify listeners, we can't show you, but what we did is not only did we change the pictures, right? We didn't just change the pictures, we changed the words of the poster. It's a Steven Spielberg film, Marvin Lewis as the director, okay? We changed the name, Saving Private Dalton, and we would have kept going with the alliteration and stuff. But let me just put this up. You obviously got Pac-Man, you got Andy Dalton right there in the middle. There's obviously Perfect, and there is Terrell Suggs, and as you can see at the bottom, the Marvin Lewis and Saving Private Dalton. One of the best pranks that Josh and I have ever pulled on Michael. He was very, very upset, okay? He's a diehard Steelers fan. The funny thing is he didn't even notice that at first when he sat down at his desk. We had to kind of motion him to it without actually telling him what we actually did. And when he actually found out, it was hilarious as all hell. But we could keep going forever on the things that we've done to prank Michael. And we might do that for another episode at another time. But anyway.
I'm feeling some cosmic brownies right now.
See, I know, right? That's pretty much what we did for that prank. And that's kind of your highlight for the Bengals fans on here on this podcast. Anyway, we're going to move on to other news in the NFL before we get into our AFC East predictions. In other news, Tyreek Hill, the wide receiver for the Kansas City Chiefs, has injured his leg. We're unsure of the severity of the injury, but it was reported that he was able to walk off on his own power, even though it was not very easily for him. He was down for a while. So unsure of what that is. We definitely like to say it's bad karma. Certainly hope it is.
I'll say it is.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I'll say it is. I don't know if you guys did see the video of him explaining how those marks got on his kid. Did y'all see that?
I saw it. I saw it. I was listening to it on the radio.
It was so fucking cringeworthy, man. It's so cringeworthy. That's so bad. That is so bad. Either way, we're not going to get into that. Everybody else has already seen it. Anyway, other news, Le'Veon Bell officially apologized to fantasy owners last year for not being able to play, and he now apologized to anyone that picked him up. He says he's very sorry and looks to make it up for all those this year now that he is playing with his new team, the New York Jets. Toby is probably more than happy to tell you. Toby, please remind our audience where Le'Veon Bell went in our fantasy draft last year. And it was none of us that picked him, by the way. But remind people where he was picked.
Yeah, we had an 18-team league last season with an auction draft. I think the draft capital at the start was $250. Le'Veon Bell was the fourth player or third player to get picked for the auction.
I think he was first.
He was first.
Or the first player, sorry. His value for not playing the entire season was $125. So half the draft capital gone for a player not playing the entire season. So an apology for that is maybe not quite the response that certain owners were hoping for, but I mean, if he's going to make up for them this year, good luck. They probably won't get Le'Veon Bell this year.
The funny thing is all three of us were Skyping each other when we were doing this, and we were all talking to each other while we were doing the fantasy draft. And when he got picked, we saw the number get above $100, and we're all sitting back. We're just like, guys, he's not even playing this year. We don't think he's going to play this year. Why are you picking him? And he got picked. It was the funniest thing we said is like $100-something for a guy you don't even know if he's going to play. And sure enough, he didn't play.
Yeah, it was the talk of the league for the entire season.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you remember my team in our first fantasy thing we did?
Yeah.
Tom Brady, Le'Veon Bell, Odell Beckham Jr., Rob Gronkowski.
You wanna remind everyone who won the league that year?
No, I'm not going to.
Who was that? Who is the name? I can't quite tell.
Last time I checked, you almost lost.
Last time I checked, I was won by 2 points, boy. Let's go. I won, for anyone that knows. Okay, now you do know.
What was
Okay,
that?
I rub it in anytime I get the chance to.
Wasn't it like 108, 106 or something like that?
It was something. No, it was because we had 2 weeks into it. Remember, we had 2 weeks into it, so it was like 258 to like 256. It was so freaking close. I got out after a movie, right as the movie ended. The fantasy thing ended, and I was up by 2 points. I was so happy. I think I won 50.
Dude, I was like, I liked it because I looked at my phone when that happened, and I remember going,
Yeah,
I'm
right.
gonna share on this one.
All right,
And
so this
cut,
last one for Toby.
Tell you what, we'll do fantasy story segments some other time.
Yeah, we'll definitely do some fantasy ones. We'll keep you guys updated on stuff like that throughout the season for sure. Last piece of news before we get into the AFC East standings. The Saints have cut their wide receiver Cameron Meredith. Another surprise cut for sure. I didn't read fully into why they did it on the ESPN article, but I just noticed that it happened right before we started this podcast. Toby, why don't you give us your quick reaction to this?
Yeah, I'm not too surprised about it because he is basically from the injury history the same as AJ Green, and he came to the Saints last year. Yeah, last year, and I think he played 2 or 3 games, or I'm not even sure if he made it past preseason without an injury. So he didn't really contribute to the team that much, and he was still injured from last year. Not really sure if he can get through preseason and be ready for regular season. So I believe they had a medical checkup. I haven't read too much about it yet because, like Derek said, it was just right before we started recording this. But I believe they were unsure if he was available for this season, and I believe his contract was ending after the season. He had a 2-year contract with the Saints. So they have a couple of really good guys on their roster right now at wide receiver, and some surprising guys who went undrafted this year, who might surprise some people this year and be on the roster, on the final roster. Sorry. So I'm not too surprised that Cameron Meredith got cut from the team.
Okay. All right, yeah, that's your Saints segment there. Any Saint fans that want to know what Toby thinks? All right, so now we're going to move on to our AFC East predictions. And the first team that we're going to be discussing is the Buffalo Bills. Toby, why don't you go ahead and start with the Buffalo Bills?
All right, Buffalo Bills 2019 predictions. They are starting at the New York Jets in week 1. And the first loss for the Buffalo Bills there. Next week, they stay in New York against the Giants. They win that game against the Giants 1-1. Against the Cincinnati Bengals, they go 2-1. They will lose against the New England Patriots. They go 2-2. And they lose in week 5 before the bye week to the Tennessee Titans and go 2-3 into the bye week. Coming out of the bye against Miami, they win that game going 3-3. They lose their next 3 games against Philadelphia, Washington, and Cleveland, which makes them go 3-6. They win their game against Miami, going 4-6. They win their next lose their next 5 games against Denver, Dallas, Baltimore, Pittsburgh, and New England, and win the last game against the New York Jets. With a total record of 5-11, the Buffalo Bills will end this season in my predictions.
All right, Josh, go ahead with yours.
All right, I got them. Let's see. They're going to lose the first one to the Jets because I don't know why. You're going to see in my Jets thing that I kind of like what they're doing, but we'll get to that later. And they will beat the Giants. I got them beating the Giants going 1-1. And then I have them, let's see here. They're going to beat the Bengals. They're going to go to 2-1. They're going to lose to the Patriots, going to 2-2. Excuse me for a second. All right, they're gonna beat the Titans. They're gonna go to 3-2.
Okay.
They will beat the Dolphins. They're gonna go to 4-2. They'll lose to the Eagles, going to 4-3. They're going to lose to the Redskins, going to 4-4. They'll lose to the 4-5. Let's see here. They're going to lose the Dolphins this time around, going to 4-6.
Okay.
They're going to beat the Broncos. They're going to go to 5-6. They're going to lose to the Cowboys. That might be changing though, depending on the Zeke situation. But for right now, 5-7. Let's see. All right, they're going to lose to the Ravens. They're going to go to 5-8. They're going to lose to the Steelers. They're going to go to 5-9. They're going to beat the Patriots this time. They're going to go 6-9, and they will be swept by the Jets, going to 6-10.
All right. There's that. I agree the same way you guys. They're going to lose to the Jets week 1. I actually have them winning their next 3, beating the Giants, the Bengals, and the Patriots, and going to 3-1. One thing about the Patriots is they start off very slow, especially the month of September. They're usually a lot more conservative, but it's towards the end of the year when they finally figure their stuff out and start to play very well. And then they'll lose to the Titans. They'll be 3-2 going into their bye. They will beat the Dolphins, making them 4-2. Lose to the Eagles, going to 4-3. Beat the Redskins, going to 5-3. And then they will lose 7 of their last 8, which with their only win coming in week 17 against the Jets. And that will put them at a record of 6-10. Same thing as Josh. All right, so next we got the Miami Dolphins. Josh, go ahead with your Miami Dolphins predictions.
All right.
I've been very interested to see what this is. I wonder how conservative you guys will be with this. I'm wondering.
All right. Let's get started then.
All right.
Like I said, they will lose. They will lose to the Ravens. Let's start 0-1 because Josh Rosen is still deciding on. Or I guess it's all because of Josh.
I will
Rosen
say this for disclaimer right now. Fitzpatrick is the leading quarterback right now.
Yeah,
it was said today by their coach that Fitzpatrick right now is the number 1 guy.
All right, they're gonna go 0-3. Start out. They're gonna lose to the Chargers. They're gonna go 0-4. They're gonna pick it up against the Redskins. They're gonna go 1-4. They will lose to the Bills. They're gonna go to 1-5. They're gonna lose to the Steelers. Gonna go to 1-6. They're gonna lose to the Jets. They're gonna go to 1-7. Let's see. They're gonna lose to the Colts. 1-8.
Of course.
Yep. They're gonna lose to the Bills again. 1-9. I believe. No, actually, scratch that. They're gonna win. Might be. They're 2-8.
Okay.
They're gonna lose to the Browns. They're gonna go to 2-9. They're gonna lose to the Eagles. They're gonna go to 2-10. They're gonna beat the Jets. They're gonna go 3-10. They're gonna beat the Giants. They're gonna go to 4-10. They'll beat the Bengals, going to 4-11, and they will beat the Patriots, going to 5-11.
Wow, a late upset, an upset in the last week. That is surprising to me. Toby, why don't you go ahead?
All right, yeah, for me, the Dolphins started out with 4 losses before their bye week, so they go 0-4 into their bye week. They come out with 3 straight losses to Washington, Buffalo, and Pittsburgh after their bye week. Their first win comes in week 9 against the New York Jets, so they go 1-7 there. They will lose their next game to Indy. They will lose to the Buffalo Bills. They will lose to Cleveland. They will lose to Philadelphia. They will lose to the New York Jets. They will lose to the Giants. I have them losing to the Cincinnati Bengals, and they will also lose their last game to the New England Patriots since they don't have Gronkowski blowing a tackle anymore. So they will end their season at a record of 1-15.
I was waiting for somebody to possibly bring that up. I was afraid I was gonna have to, but Toby brought it up. Okay, thank you. I actually have them winning against the Patriots in week 2. Like I said before, the Patriots just seem to have issues early in the first 4 games. And I think with Edelman not being there and a couple of players being injured and a couple of guys being gone, I think they're going to struggle a little bit early. I think they're going to have a little bit of difficulty there. But they'll start 1-3 going into their bye. They'll lose their next 3, making them 1-6. They'll beat the Jets, putting them at 2-6. They'll lose to the Colts, putting them at 2-7. Beat the Bills, going 3-7, and then they will lose 5 of their last 6, putting them at a record of 4-12 for me. So there we go. I was surprised by Josh's. That's when I'll have to explain that a little bit later. All right, now we move on to the New York Jets, and I will start this one off. And I have them actually a little bit higher than I actually projected them to be. I didn't know quite what they were looking for, but I think they got a relatively decent schedule if they can pick out a couple of these games. So Buffalo Bills, they'll win the first game. They'll go 1-0. They'll lose to the Browns, going 1-1. They will win against the Patriots. And again, I said before, I think the Patriots are going to really struggle early. But follow me out when I tell you that the Patriots are going to get revenge. Believe me, I just think the first couple weeks in September, they're going to struggle. So they'll be 2-1 going into their bye week, a really early bye week for them. And then they will beat the Eagles and the Cowboys ahead of time. So they will go to 4-1 going into week 6. They will lose to the Patriots in week 7, making them 4-2. They will lose to the Jaguars, going 4-3. They will lose to the Dolphins, like I mentioned earlier. They will go 4-4 go into week 9. Then they will win against the Giants, the Redskins, and the Raiders, putting them at 7-4. They will lose to the Bengals. That's the surprise one that I have there, that they will go 7-5. They will beat the Dolphins, going 8-5, and then will lose their last 3 against the Ravens, the Steelers, and the Bills, putting them at a record of 8-8, which is respectable. They can definitely possibly make a wild card spot potentially with that kind of record, and there's a couple games there that could change, as we obviously know. Toby, go ahead and go with your Jets picks.
All right, yeah, I have them struggling a bit more at the start of the season than you do, Derek, because they have a lot of new pieces on that roster, and I believe they have to form a little bit of chemistry at the start of the season on the field in real game situations, which you can't really prepare for in training camp and preseason. But yeah, I have them starting out actually with a win against the Buffalo Bills, but then they lose to Cleveland and New England to go into the bye week with a record of 1-2. They will lose their next 3 games out of the bye week for me against Philadelphia, Dallas, and New England again. Then they pick up their second win of the season against the Jacksonville Jaguars. They will lose against the Miami Dolphins. Then they go on a little bit of a win streak against the Giants, Washington, Oakland, Cincinnati, Miami, and Baltimore. And then they lose the last 2 games against Pittsburgh and at Buffalo. And they end their season as well at a record of 8-8.
All right. I thought yours would be a little higher, but I guess I'm surprised. Josh, go ahead with your Jets picks.
All right. I don't know what it is about the Jets, but I just like with the way they are looking right now, you know? So they're going to start out 1-0, and they're going to go to 1-1. They're going to beat the Patriots. I got them like you, Derek. You're going to beat the Patriots in the first go-around. Then they're going to actually beat the Eagles. I just got that feeling.
Okay.
Cowboys, I got them losing, so they're going to go 3-2 against the Cowboys. Patriots will get their revenge. It's going to go to 3-3. They're going to beat the Jags. They're going to go to 4-3. They're going to beat the Dolphins. They're going to go to 5-3. They're going to beat the Giants. They're going to 6-3.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to beat the Redskins. They're going to go to 7-3. They're going to beat the Raiders because everybody's going to beat the Raiders this year. They're going to 8-3. They're going to beat the Bengals. Going to go to 9-3. They're going to beat the Jets. They're going to go to 10-3.
You mean
they're going to lose? What?
You mean the Ravens? Because that's what we're doing is the Jets.
Oh yeah, yeah, you know what I mean. The Ravens will beat the Jets. They're going to, they're going to go to 9-4. My bad. Might be.
You mean 10-4? 10-4 is where you would be.
10-4.
Right,
I was right. I was right.
There you go. You were right. You were right.
Then you said something and it threw me off. And
I'm sorry. All right. Jeez.
All right.
10-4 going into week 16 with the Steelers.
They'll lose to the Steelers, going to go to 10-5, and they will beat the Bills, going to 11-5.
Wow. So Josh with a very high praise for the Jets. Wow. So you think they're a playoff contender? Like right now, they're one of the best teams in the AFC at the moment.
I got that feeling. It's just you look at the defense, and you got a pretty good offense. You just need to work on the offensive line, and I think you got it. You just need one more weapon at wide receiver.
Interesting. And Jets will definitely be one of the biggest talks of the season, so we'll see how that works out. And lastly, the New England Patriots, the team that we always seem to think will be good no matter what happens to them, at least until Belichick and Brady leave. They're certainly not stopping anytime soon. I'll start with this one. Like I said before, they're going to start 1-3. Okay, I know that sounds crazy. I know it does, but hear me out. They don't have Edelman for the first 4 games. They don't have Gronkowski anymore. They're going to have a lot of new faces. I know they're going to be able to run the ball pretty well, but they're facing a lot of divisional opponents. The divisional opponents, for some reason or another, seem to give the Patriots trouble at times. And I think early in the season, the talent that these teams do have the ability to pull some upsets. So they will start out the season 1-3, but they will win 9 out of their last, or wait a minute, no, it's 10. They will win 10 out of their last, 12 games. So that will put them at a record of 11. Yeah, make sure I got that right. Yep, they're going to go with a record of 11-5 at the end of this season. I have them winning all their games at the end from week 5, except for the Eagles game in week 11 and the Chiefs game in week 14. So I have them going 11-5. Josh, why don't you go ahead and go with your Patriots team?
All right. As I like to allude, and I'm pretty sure, Connor, if you're hearing this one, I like to make the Patriots sum up like a sun, They're finally about ready to use up the last of their energy, They're going to go Red Giant. And if you know what happens after Red Giants, Supernova, and all that other good stuff. So they're in that final phase, kind of like the end game. So they're going to go 2-2 to start out the season, losing to the Steelers, winning against the Dolphins, losing to the Jets, and then beating the Dolphins. The Bills. The Bills. Going to, Hold on, I overthought it. Yeah, there we go, 2-2. My bad. I'm just writing it down as I go so I don't forget. Anyway, they will beat the Redskins. They're going to go to 3-2. They will beat the Giants. They're going to go to 4-2. They will beat the Jets this time around, as I stated before. They're going to go 5-2. I still got them beating the Browns. They're going to go to 6-2. They're going to beat the Ravens. They're going to go to 7-2. They will beat the Eagles because, holding a grudge is a thing. They will beat the Cowboys, going to 9-2. They're going to beat the Texans, going to 10-2. I'm with you, Derek. They're going to lose this one to the Chiefs that are pretty mad about last time.
Yep.
11-3 after they beat the Bengals. 12-3, and they're going to end the season at 12-4.
All right. Relatively good record there, I see. Toby, you're the last. Best for last. Go ahead.
Yeah, last regular season prediction here on the podcast. But before I start my prediction, I actually have to correct Derek there because Edelman will not miss the first 4 games of the season. He's dealing with a thumb injury, but he is expected to be ready for the regular season opener against the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Oh, is it really? I swear they said that he was going to miss some time about a week ago.
Apparently, they are optimistic about it, him playing against the Steelers, but we'll see about that in a couple of weeks. But yeah, for my predictions for the New England Patriots, I have them starting out winning all their games up to the bye week, putting them at 9-0 coming to the bye week. They will win their next game against Philadelphia, going 10-0. Then they lose their first game to the Dallas Cowboys. They lose the game to the Houston Texans. They lose to the Kansas City Chiefs. And then they win their last 3 games against the Cincinnati Bengals, Buffalo Bills, and the Miami Dolphins, putting them at the same record as Josh at 13-3.
All right. Interesting. Josh, did you have them at 12-4 or 13-3?
12-4.
He said 13-3, so.
Okay. Yeah, 12-4. I could have sworn that's what it was. Okay, so basically, we all are in agreement here that the Miami Dolphins are the come from behind losers here. Obviously, we see that as a big example there. We all are in agreement here that the New England Patriots are going to be atop the division yet again, as they have been for the last 15 years. And the biggest surprise we all have, Josh, with the New York Jets being 11-5. And that's the biggest one we got so far. I mean, I think that puts them at playoff contention there. I think that probably puts them at a 5th or 6th seed right spot there.
Yeah.
That is very interesting. All right. Yeah, that's all for those. Again, if anybody wants to go back and look at some of the predictions that we have for all these teams for every division, be sure to go back and watch our old videos. They're all labeled as which ones are which. And again, guys, this is way too early predictions. Things will happen in training camp. Thank you, Josh. Some things have already happened in training camp and in mini camp and all these things. Some of these injuries or trades or free agency, all that stuff is still going to be talked about, and it's going to be about progression. Obviously, these are not what we think will happen at the end of the season when we get in the middle of it, because certainly things change. And like we all know, NFL and football in general has its ups and downs, and it has its upsets. So there will certainly be some things we're going to be looking at, but that is all we have for this podcast. Thank you guys so much for watching. We hope you enjoyed. Be sure to follow us on Twitter at T3DS_NFL. Be sure to listen on Spotify and on YouTube. Subscribe to us, please. And as always, guys, peace.
See ya.
Later.